Hello, everyone. This is Amy Cooper. I'm the founder of Rise, and I'm here today with Bob Taylor, who is Vice President and Senior Corporate Counsel, Legal Ideation and Transformation at Liberty Mutual. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for joining us.
It's good to be with you, Amy.
So we always like to start off by asking this. How did you get into insurance?
It's kind of funny. I don't think anybody ends up in insurance on purpose. It just kind of happens. But for me, the way it worked is I graduated from law school and I was assistant prosecutor in a county here in Massachusetts. I lived just outside of Boston. And after kind of my rotation with that was up, I was looking for the ability to continue my career in trying cases. And one way to do that was in the staff counsel operation with Liberty Mutual. So I joined Liberty Mutual as a litigator to start my career. So that's how I got involved with insurance.
And then stuck with you ever since.
25 years later, here I am. I started off saying I would never want to try car wreck cases for the rest of my career. And it's been anything but that, really. I've had a really nice advantage of having a very diverse and career. But 25 years later, here I am.
Well, speaking of the times, it is 2020. So is there anything that you could share with us that you've learned this year when dealing with the events of 2020?
Yeah, it's been tough, no doubt. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say if 2020 ever slows down slow enough, I'm going to jump off because it has just not been a great year for everybody. But I think one of the things that I've learned is everybody is no one single one of us has it all figured out, right? And almost everybody has some kind of an issue that you don't know anything about, and you need to kind of approach people in that way. You're going to be meeting people that are fighting battles that you're not aware of, and it's important that you kind of approach people with that kind of mentality and understand people's perspective and know that a bad day maybe has nothing to do with you, no matter how self-absorbed your perspective might be, and that we all can use support. And I'm very fortunate to be part of a team that has practiced what they preach and have really been supportive of one another through this entire period.
Is there anything that you've been working on that you've learned or skill you've been perfecting that no one knows about?
So I think my secret weapon through all of this has been getting my sleep right. I've never had my sleep right until this has happened. And I started with
I'm
my
jealous.
Apple Watch and I read this book, and I don't necessarily recommend it if you want to freak yourself out, but it's Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And I loved it, but it really, zeroed in why sleep is probably one of the most key things to your personal health. And so I've been really tracking all the data related to my health, like in the spreadsheets, and looking at it and see what affects my sleep, what doesn't, and really kind of optimizing that. And honestly, I feel far better than I did previously when I wasn't really paying attention to that. So it's been my little sneaky, kind of technique that I've used over COVID to help me get through this.
Man, I've never slept so poorly since 2020. I'm in the new mom club, so I'm jealous of that skill, man. That sounds amazing.
I can't help you there. Those sleepless nights, I left those far behind me with little ones. So you got to go through it.
Well, a lot of people are working from home, and maybe this is the first time that they are. Do you have any tips for avoiding burnout?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely coincides with what I was saying about sleep. I mean, in order to be reliable, you have to take care of yourself. And careers are often a test of endurance, and this is just another one of those tests of endurance, right? Whether it's, and I've learned this over the course of a long period of time, whether it's travel, late nights, your ability to maintain sustained focus, you need to feel well to work well. And that's not always possible, right? And so you need to kind of be emotionally aware of when that's not working for you and when it is. Fortunately now with flexible work, right? If mornings aren't working for you because you didn't get a good night's sleep, maybe, right? You tend to be someone who's going to be more productive in the evening. But I mean, I think, taking care of yourself and making sure that your physical and mental health is right is what's going to help sustain you over the long haul in your career.
That's excellent advice. So you talk a lot about innovation, and it coincides with the department that you're in at Liberty Mutual.
Mhm.
A lot of our young professionals would like to know, how can they innovate from their current role, even if they're not maybe necessarily a manager or in a decision-making
Mhm.
position?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, to think that you don't actually have any power, but innovation is incremental. It doesn't have to be this massive thing. I mean, I think if you've got a work process in front of you and you think that you can improve it and you can deconstruct it and reconstruct it to make it more efficient, that's innovation. And you should be open with that with, the people that you work with and your supervisors. So don't think that you've always got to go for that moonshot for it to be considered innovation. Sometimes it's those small little steps, and, be opportunistic. Sometimes you have to make your own opportunities. In the course of my career, I was offered up roles or opportunities to work on projects, and I didn't necessarily know, a whole lot or depth about that particular thing, but I said yes and figured it out later. And I think that, if you're if you're kind of opportunistic, it can work out for you. So the other thing I would say too, in terms of around innovation and, wanting to kind of get ahead in your career, it's not easy now because, we're all so distant, but never eating alone. And what I guess I use that more as a metaphor, right? As to that we're all in this together. So I would say that your career can rise or fall based on your ability to network and maintain and establish networks. And the connections that you make with people at work, both inside and outside of work, over the course of your lifetime, are often determinative of how well you're going to do over your career. And so what we're doing right here, I love this because I'm an extrovert and I need the connection, right? And so I would highly encourage, your members to do exactly the same. Establish those connections, be consistent, reach out periodically, even when you don't have anything, work related to discuss, because those relationships will carry you through.
Yeah, sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know. And
No doubt.
actually, shameless plug, just going to put something in there. If you're looking for a way to get connected, you could join RISE's Innovation Committee and meet some other members. But back to talking about innovation, the industry has been innovating over the last several years. Things have changed. Can you talk a little bit to how you're seeing that affecting the job market, maybe what roles and positions are available?
Sure. Look, I know this is so cliche, but change is inevitable. It just is. And the more adaptable you are, the better. People talk about IQ, right? And, your members, they wouldn't be members unless they were smart. So, okay, they got that. EQ, right? Everybody works on being a more emotionally intelligent over time. But there's another one that I don't think people talk about too much, which is AQ, which is your adaptability quotient. And, in the insurance industry, there's going to be change. There's going to be some cases rapid change, some that happens over time. I think if you have a willingness to embrace that and be able to make decisions with less than perfect information, if you have the ability to, take a personal risk, especially when you're young, because, the older you become, taking calculated risks become harder and harder. Trust me, I can account for that. But I would say that, when you're early on in your career and you're looking at all these changes that are happening, who would have ever thought that we would have had a group that was studying drone insurance, or a group that was studying, self-driving cars, or a group that is working with MIT to look at artificial intelligence in the way that it's going to be. I mean, those jobs within Liberty Mutual didn't exist, 10, let alone 5 years ago. And so if there are jobs that are kind of going by the wayside or shrinking, or job families that are shrinking, know that there are other areas that are growing. And just, you have to keep your eyes out for that and see where the opportunities might lie.
That's a great perspective. Talking about somebody who's maybe looking for opportunities, maybe somebody's looking for a promotion or seeking out a mentor, do you have any advice for someone looking for their next move?
Yeah, so the best business advisor I've ever had over the course of my career has been my dad. And he spent 32 years at UPS, and I'm just incredibly proud of what he's accomplished. He's a kid that grew up in the projects and did really well for himself. And I was able to have a great opportunity in life because of him. And, you know, the one thing he always used to tell me, because I was always looking ahead at what the next thing was, is he says, you know, you're never going to get ahead unless you focus on doing the best possible job in the current role that you're in. And I think a lot of young people forget about that. They always think, well, in 3 years, I need to be here, or 5 years, I need to be here. And what's the next step and what's the next thing? And they lose sight of actually performing in the role that they're in. And I think if you do that, right, and you are optimistic and you do show a willingness to do things that maybe other people aren't necessarily willing to do, and you do them well, you will get recognized. I mean, that's another thing that, you know, the prior general counsel at Liberty Mutual, Chris Mansfield, he used to say all the time, you know, one of the ways that he thought to get ahead was to do the kind of work that no one else wanted to do it really well. That will get you recognized. I mean, you know, I remember when I started early on in my career, Amy, subrogation cases, no one wanted to handle, you know, subrogation. I mean, your insurance folks well will know, and I won't go into what that is, but it tended to be that work that no one else wanted to do. I kind of gravitated and said, look, I'll handle them. I'll do it. You know, give me the portfolio of work. And we did it well. And I mean, it worked out. But so that's what I would suggest.
I guess we'll end on this. I know that you answered if you had a mentor, and you talked about your dad, but is there anyone in your, I guess, professional career that you thought did something that really made an impact on you and maybe changed your trajectory or changed your thinking?
Well, 100%. I had a mentor, Ken Latronico, who hired me into Liberty Mutual, into the field legal operation. And I was forever grateful for Ken's willingness to always hold me accountable and kind of kick me in the butt when I needed to be kicked in the butt, but also then encourage me and tell me that, you know, I was capable of doing more. And, you know, I wanted to go back and go to business school after, you know, going to Liberty Mutual. And at the time, no one was doing that. They're like, oh, you got your law degree, what are you doing? And I wanted to know more about the business of law. And he stood up for me and really supported me in going after that degree and made it possible for me to do that. And it did completely change the trajectory of my career, 100%. And without his support, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm guaranteed, I know that as a fact. It's a little bit sad that Ken died shortly after he retired, and I miss Ken, you know, every day. I miss him all the time. He was just really instrumental. But without his belief in me early on in my career, and without him just kind of steering me in the right direction here and there, I don't think that I would have had the same outcome. And I'm very grateful for that.
Wow, that's amazing. Sounds like you've had an amazing career so far, and very excited to see what you do with your transformation group and innovation. Will definitely keep up with you. And for anyone else who's joining us, who's not familiar with Rise, you can check us out at riseprofessionals.com, follow our YouTube, see more videos. And if you're not a member, you can join for free. So thanks again, Bob, for joining us today, and we'll see you all another time.
Great to join you, Amy.